Fighter, you ready?
Combate Global.
Oh, what a punch. What an incredible fight. Can you believe what you just saw? We have a champion.
Welcome into Best of Combate. I'm your host, Alex Wendling, with the man with a plan. It is Campbell McLaren.
That's me.
And today we're going to be talking about the toughest tournament in sports. That's right, it is Copa Combate. Now, President Campbell, explain to the fans why Copa Combate is the toughest tournament in sports.
Well, that sounds like hype, but it's truly not. Think about it. You have one night, and an athlete's got to come into this event and have three separate fights in one night. Three separate opponents. And what that means is it's a physical challenge. 3 fights is a physical challenge, but it's also a psychological or mental challenge as well. I mean, I think it's as tough as a triathlon, but you're being punched and kicked in the head. Also, a fighter can prepare for one fight. You can look at the style of your opponent, you can see who you're facing. But in the Copa, you're going to have 3 separate opponents. And you can't necessarily prep for that. You can maybe prep for the first one, but after that, you don't know who you're going to face. And I think it's a challenge of how tough you are, how skilled you are, and mentally, how much you're ready to go into a cauldron and do this 3 separate times.
Yes, an 8-man tournament, single elimination. Copa Combate puts it all on the line, especially with that country pride, representing the country that they're from. So we're going to take you guys back into the inaugural Copa Combate.
It's a great one.
That took place in Cancun in
gosh.
2017. Beautiful stuff. We'll send it there. Turning back time for the inaugural Copa Combate 2017 in Cancun. Tell me about the energy of this event, Campbell.
Oh, it was through the roof. We were doing it in a casino down in Cancun. We had arguably 8 of the best fighters in the world representing their country in a tournament for a $100,000 prize.
And willing to do whatever it takes for $100K.
And look at Rojo's got that arm bar. Oh,
that
very
definitely
nice.
had a few pops in there.
Yes, and you know, Rojo had 3 walkout sounds picked, so he really meant to win the whole thing. You see him in action here. He got 3 walkout songs, sure, in his mind that he was winning it all. But look at this. He was up against some very serious competition. Marroquin had come in as an alternate because Ricky Palacio didn't make weight. And, you know, I don't want to give away the end, but he did win the whole thing.
He definitely brought it all out there. A great takedown against Carlos Rivera. This is Mexico versus Mexico, fighting for $100K and their spot to advance to the semifinals.
Yeah, you know, look, it was the first one. There was some serious money on the line. The competition was great. The crowd was fired up. Marroquin, second win.
Gets it done in the blue shorts. And up next, we have Kevin Moraes versus John Castaneda. A nice punch right to the face of Kevin Moraes and a great takedown for John Castaneda.
You know, Peru has a good scene, but, you know, John is U.S. trained, very talented. After COVID hit Combate, we did release John to the UFC where he's doing quite well over there.
Yeah, and he got a great submission, rear naked choke there, but now we are on to our next bout where he gets dropped.
Oh. You know, it hurts to be punched in the face.
Yeah, the Spaniard going to town on the Colombian Alejandro. Once you're dazed like that, it's hard to recover. But in the subconscious, he could be thinking 100K, but sometimes you don't wake up in time and
no,
the decision
I think he was
goes.
thinking, where am I? All right, here we go. This is a classic Combate fight.
Yes, we love a Argentina versus Mexico showdown and the scrambles of Levi Saul Marroquin straight to the back of Marcelo Rojo.
And it was a give and take. It was a give and take the whole time.
Straight into that front headlock game. We love a high elbow guillotine.
Yeah, there's the tap.
Very
Marroquin.
high percentage takedown. The doctors checking in on Marcelo Rojo. Beautiful work. Into the takedown, straight to the back. Have you ever seen someone scramble like that? That's got to be a top grappler.
It's a very smooth move. It's a very smooth move.
Have you ever been high elbow guillotined like that?
No, but you have because you're in the jiu-jitsu cult. So, no.
We know what it's like, that high elbow guillotine, the highest percentage guillotine you can get, advancing Levy Saul Marroquin to the finals.
All right, here we go. Mexico, USA.
John
Oh, no,
Castaneda.
not Mexico, USA. This is Mexico, Spain.
Yes.
No, it's not. Wrong again, Campbell.
You're correct. John Castaneda represents Mexico and America, taking on España in Marc Gomez Sario. This bout would end up going to the decision. And this is the second bout for them. These guys are having to fight through whatever injuries or mental lapses they've had. And of course, up next, the co-main event, featuring some ladies in the co-main event. What was the thought process with that?
Well, that was just a good mixer, right? Because you've got 8 men, now we have 2 women. We also need to give the fighters a 25-minute rest period before they go into their final fight. So what better way to showcase Super Millie,
Wow.
in action, who's now fighting with the UFC. And, of course, Gloria Brava didn't take the win, but she does have a new baby, so that's a win of sorts, too.
Yes, the Mexico versus Chile showdown in Combate Global is becoming one of the most iconic rivalries, but not more iconic than Mexico versus USA. This is the finals. Levy Saul Marroquin versus John Castaneda, really putting everything on the line. And how important was this country pride moment in Cancun for the inaugural Copa?
Right, it's our first of Copa. It's in Mexico. Huge ratings on Televisa for us. You know, this was very, very important win for Mexico. I believe this win is what sets Mexico on the path to being a real MMA power. It all flows from this event, from this fight.
Yes, very iconic inaugural Copa Combate. And these guys leaving nothing in the gas tank. Levy Marroquin fighting until the final bell. And the decision going to the Mexican in his home country. Look at that crowd. What was the energy like of that final moment?
It was through the roof, you know, and it's a well-deserved victory because Marroquin came as an alternate. No one even expected him to be in the tournament.
$100K payday, can't get any better. One of the greatest events in Combate Global history. How did that inaugural Copa set up for future Copas?
Well, you know, that Copa, that was our first. And it was the same thing as when I did the first UFC. When you do a tournament, it's totally unpredictable. You just don't know what's going to happen. In this one, Marroquin, an alternate who wasn't even supposed to be in it, wins it.
Crazy things could happen, but crazier things are happening up next. Welcome back to the best of Combate Global.
Do you know why we call it the best?
Because it's the best of the best.
It's the best.
Yeah, I knew it, right? That's why you guys keep me here, right?
Oh, no one's getting rid of you, kiddo. They got to go through me.
We have a lot of questions coming in from the TikToks to Snapchats on Instagram. People are wondering a bunch of different things about the fights that go on in Combate Global. One of them I saw was when there was a pretty crazy Kimura that happened.
What's a Kimura?
A Kimura is a submission, a shoulder lock that can really mess you up if you don't tap in time. So someone got their arm broken, and a lot of the comments were asking, is that legal? Should the ref have stopped that? What is allowed in this crazy sport? And as a guy who has been at this sport from the beginning, you have seen guys literally go into the pants and move the cup to hit a groin shot. So what is allowed? What isn't allowed inside La Jaula?
Well, great question, and I know we've gotten a number of questions specifically about the rules. So let me just say, first off, in MMA, the unified rules are what everyone uses. And yes, when I started the UFC, I did use the slogan, "There are no rules." There were 1 or 2 rules, but it's like, there are no rules. Sounds so much better than there are 1 or 2 rules. There's some other rules. But the truth of the matter is, it's not that there are no rules. It's that there are all the rules. Because MMA is mixed martial arts. So it's a mixture of boxing, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, and Olympic-style wrestling. So when you mix all those sports, you have to mix all those rules. Because in boxing, there's no wrestling, there's no leg kicks, there's certainly no head kicks. So in the unified rules, you take the rules from every sport and blend those. So even though I said there are no rules, which is still a great marketing slogan, there are a lot of rules, and they're there to protect the fighter. Now let's talk. The groin shot thing, that was Ken Shamrock. The fighter had actually put his hand inside Ken's Speedos. They got quite familiar with each other. You know, an effective move of sorts, not one necessarily that I would recommend. It's not going to happen. But we talked about that Kimura and the arm break. There are, in our sport, times when bones do get broken. It happens.
Tap or snap.
But tap or snap, that's exactly the answer. And what tap or snap means, the thing that keeps fighters safe is they have the ability to tap their opponent 3 times.
Say uncle.
And the ref goes over. Finito. No mas. And that's what keeps a fighter safe. Sometimes fighters' ego, pride,
will to win?
Will to win. I was going to say stupidity. Will to win comes out, and they think you can tough it out. You cannot tough out a joint lock where your leg, arm, thumb, toe is being bent in the direction it's not supposed to go. And that's what happened. Very unfortunate, sad, but this is a tough sport. This is a no bullshit sport. And so that's why the tap is there. You surrender. As the famous Gracie Jiu-Jitsu family said, you beat me today.
Yeah.
You beat me today.
And when we look at other martial arts, we have boxing. You'll see sometimes people throw in the towel. They can also throw in the towel in MMA. But now we're starting to see this different era of boxing where these YouTubers are getting inside the cage. Now we even have Mike Tyson being challenged by the ultimate YouTuber, Jake Paul. So what do you think about the respect of martial arts? What do you think is being done with all of this influencer boxing stuff? And do you think you'll ever do something like that inside La Jaula? Do you put Joey Mendez and Luis Escudero in that same vein?
Well, no, I don't. And I think, Jake Paul's a real athlete. Jake Paul wrestled in high school and he wrestled in college. He trains really hard. He's a great personality. He's a great showman. I think what he's doing is very, very interesting. Now, Instagram a fight league, or I look pretty fight league, or check out my underwear fight league. Like, that's different. I don't want that. You go watch it if you want. It's a bunch of crap. You know, take a $20 bill. Instead of paying for that, take a $20 bill and light it on fire. It's more entertaining. But Luis and Joey, like, those guys really bang. They are fighters of some level that are tremendous on Instagram. So they're good fighters. They're great influencers. That's different. We love, when Joey came in, Joey threw a Superman punch that Superman would have said, wow, that's really cool, that Superman punch. So I think that's different. I love the circus. Put on all the circus you want. I don't think Jake is circus. Some of the things I don't like is when fighters that should have retired continue to fight because they're in a financial position where they have to do so.
Well, we just talked about 2 fighters that move the needle, and another athlete that moves the needle for Combate Global is La Loba and the rest of that women's roster. So my final question, and the question that the audience is very curious to know about, is when is the next time we could see La Loba inside La Jaula?
You know, again, this is a tough sport, and we were supposed to see her a month or so ago, but, she had a knee injury. You know, with the women, I think our research shows most of Combate's fans don't watch the UFC. They know of it, but they're not regular watchers. So I think the women fighters are still a surprise to them. I think they're surprised how vicious the women are, and that arm snap you're talking about where it's 2 women fighters, right? So we love the women. We love La Loba. We want to get them in action as soon as possible.
And for a little bit more on our fighters, stay tuned. back in action to talk all things Copa Combate, and we got to watch the inaugural 2017 Copa over there in Cancun, where we saw a lot of wars. What do you think was the biggest takeaway for some of those fighters involved with that inaugural tournament?
Well, we got to put some perspective on this. So Levy Marroquin won. He came in as an alternate. So think about this. Okay, you're in a movie. You're an extra in the movie. You come into the movie, the lead actor breaks his neck, it has to be taken out. The extra becomes the lead actor, wins an Oscar. That's what happened with Levy. He came in as an alternate. He won first place. He won all 3 fights. He won $100,000 and all the glory of saying, of those 8 countries, I'm the best fighter out of all of those countries. And of course, Copa, don't forget, Copa, the cup itself, is the biggest trophy in sports. I know that because I ordered it 1 centimeter bigger than the Stanley Cup. So he won $100,000. He gets the trophy, the $100,000, the glory, you know, and also the realization that, hey, maybe this is a career. You know, our producer, Javi, he has a line. He said, you know, the fighters that do the best are the ugly, poor ones because they got plenty of free time. No one will go out with them. They don't have any money to spend, so they're in the gym training. Chris Rock said it wasn't the most skilled fighter that won. It's the poorest fighter, the hungriest fighter, the guy that comes in and goes, I'm taking first prize. This is my money, yo. And so that's what I think Levy came in and he just did it. He got it done.
He was hungry, he got it done. Levy, the first ever Copa Combate champion, able to elevate his career to the world and really get on a global stage. Congratulations to him, and we have a lot of information on Levy coming up.
Hay muchos mexicanos que viajan a Estados Unidos para aprender, como deportista crecer. Yo creo que yo no tengo que hacer eso. Sí he viajado fuera, sí he entrenado, he estado en campamentos en Estados Unidos y demás, pero digo que con mi gente yo tengo todo. Digo, las ganas las tiene que hacer uno tiene que entrenar al 100, no importa si estás en México o estás en Estados Unidos. La fuerza me la dan mis padres, mis papás, mi familia, mis amigos. Tengo alrededor de 8 años trabajando con ellos y pues nada, somos una familia. De hecho, paso más tiempo con ellos que con mi familia. Bienvenidos a su casa. Aquí viví gran parte de mi infancia con mis papás. Siempre hemos estado aquí en esta casa. En los cuartos de adelante me ponía con mis compañeros, bueno, con amigos de aquí del barrio, y nos poníamos a entrenar nosotros según y les enseñaba un poco de lo que yo sabía. Entonces, pues parte de esta casa fue cuando se empezó un sueño, ¿verdad? Y entonces ya. El primer arte marcial que hice fue taekwondo cuando tenía 6 años, 7, y lo hice por mi papá, que él siempre entrenó las artes marciales que hubo en su época, que fue el karate, wushu kung fu, judo.
Yo entrenaba cuando era niño, pero nada parecido a esto es extremo. Yo peleaba en los torneos de karate.
Muy contenta y muy orgullosa de mi hijo. Los primeros guantes, yo me puse a ahorrar con él 1 año y sus primeros guantes costaban 2,800, ¿no, hijo?
Sí, caro.
Y nosotros somos de escasos recursos, no tienen la posibilidad. Y él se arrimó a hablar para que se les bajaran el precio. Y le dijo, algún día voy a ser un peleador y aquí están.
Hubo una época que me tocó en mi edad muy fea, muy fuerte, que pues había sicarios y todo eso estuvo muy fuerte, la verdad, y más de la colonia donde vengo. Entonces cuando era esa época de tantos problemas, a mí me gustaba mucho andar en las calles, me gustaba andar con mis amigos y demás. De que me metió, yo no me salí de ahí, entonces enfocaba todo mi energía, la canalizaba en entrenar desde que tenía mis 13 años.
A veces venía con un ojo morado, con la nariz de pelota, y a veces venía golpeado y mi esposa, voy a ir a reclamar y voy a decirles que cómo es posible que me lo golpeen. Le digo, entonces mételo a una escuela de ballet o de danza. Ahí no le va a pasar nada.
Yo creo que Levi ya son de estas nuevas generaciones que lo pueden hacer todo. Sí, ya sabes que antes o eras muy bueno arriba o eras muy bueno abajo. Levi yo creo que ya es una de las personas que puede manejar a ambas guardias, puede trabajar su boxeo sin que sea un boxeo puramente, sino mezclándolo con un todo, puede pasar del striking al jiu-jitsu y ya te está haciendo todo tipo de ataques. La lucha, todo lo tiene, ya lo hace un todo, lo hace una pelea muy completa.
Monterrey's Levi Marroquin, a great start for Combate Global.
A very exciting fighter. And what I like about him is he brought it every fight. He brought it every round. I don't think there was a single time when Marroquin didn't just go, I'm gonna kill this. He didn't just want to win. He wanted to really make sure that it was obvious that he had beaten his opponent. Great submission artist.
Great submission artist that we're going to be breaking down inside La Jaula. Welcome back to the best of Combate Global, where we've been doing a deep dive on Copa Combate, the toughest tournament in sports. And we had the inaugural Copa Combate in 2017 in Cancun. The energy was high and people were hungry for that 100K, particularly Levi Marroquin, representing Mexico, a beautiful submission grappling artist who got a nice guillotine in his second match, the semifinals, to advance him into the finals.
Rojo follows up and he has the double leg against the cage. He's going for the lift
And he got him.
him down. But Marroquin going for a guillotine, trying to transition here. The scramble continues.
There's no threat here. He's good to go. There, he will be fine. He's got that shoulder pressure. He's going to dig it a little more, I think, because his submission game's a lot better than that. Ooh, there's some space in that shoulder.
Oh, he tapped!
He tapped! It is over! Oh, man! Levi Marroquin, from alternate to finalist, and de Monterrey, Mexico, is now one fight away from $100,000!
De Monterrey, México,
So we're gonna break that down. Don't you worry. But first, we gotta meet the training partner, Christian, who is so kind. He is gonna let me choke him and do all that. So are you ready for that? Yes, let's do it. And part of the reason why this guillotine choke became available to Levi was because he was doing a great job of piecing up his opponent. Marcelo was getting tired on the feet, didn't like getting punched in the face. So when he went in for the double leg takedown, it was a bit of a desperation takedown. He wanted to slow the pace of the fight down, especially because in the semifinals, it's just one round for 5 minutes. So the cardio that you get, it's a sprint. It's not a marathon like a normal 3-round fight. So these guys are throwing punches. A few land beautifully. Like if I was in there, I would have a beautiful hook, and that makes him get a little scared, all right? So he's gonna duck under and go for a double leg takedown. I'm gonna be smart in this moment. Levi knew that once he shot for that takedown, he has to capitalize on the little things, like getting this front headlock position. He doesn't just, do nothing and let him take him down. He gets that position because even when he does go for the takedown, down to the ground he goes. It's in these moments that are so important. It's the scramble. Yeah, you got taken down. Don't panic. Don't just settle and, let him ground and pound you out. You got to keep control of what you have, which is this front headlock position. Get a little bit of space. And in Levi's situation, he went to the closed guard position because he has confidence off of his back, especially with this grip on the neck that he has. If he didn't have a grip on his head, we could see some problems. We could see some ground and pound potential, and that wouldn't be a great way to be sent off into the final of Copa Combate. You want to try to avoid any and all damage. So he's holding on tight to this front headlock position, and there's a few different ways that you can finish a guillotine, but one of the ways to do it is the high elbow. And the way that that's set up is with a different grip. Basically placed like this, you have your radius bone on their one sided of the carotid artery. And now with this grip, it makes it super tight on the other one. And to finish it, you usually want your arm on their center line. That makes it really tight, closing in the gaps. But as you'll see, In Levy's situation, he actually didn't even have that grip. One of the commentators was even like, oh, there's no threat there. There's so much space between the shoulder. He should be good. Marcelo can just put a little bit of shoulder pressure into his opponent and make some space. But to her surprise, Marcelo ended up having to tap, and that was because of the leverage used from the hip. So even though he didn't have the perfect grip here, he was just being strong, using his muscles, but then also using the hip to crank on the neck. And then he got the tap, and that advanced him into the finals of Copa Combate. A great strategy when you're headed into a tournament where you're gonna fight 3 times. Getting a submission, a nice highlight reel for the family. You would probably show you'd be proud of that one, right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful submission that we got. Now we're gonna break it down one more time for you guys so that you can practice this at home against your little brother. You know, maybe your boyfriend, if he's messing with you too much, just show him a little bit of what you got. So again, Levy's piecing him up on the hands. He's like, I don't like getting punched in the face. I'm gonna take you down. And when he does, he capitalizes off that position. He goes in for the takedown, double leg. In this moment, he's gonna scramble. Never remain on your back in MMA unless you're going to a closed guard. Now this closed guard, basically for you jiu-jitsu casuals, I'm just closing my feet here so I can control his posture, keeping the head control. And now I'm just gonna get my grip, make sure I'm closing the airways for his arteries so that he can't breathe anymore. And if I have to put him to sleep, I'll put him to sleep. I'll do it for 100K. I'd probably do it for less, to be honest. And then I'm going for the finish, hipping into it, and on my way to the finals, Levy Marroquin of Mexico, getting it done, unscathed for the most part, headed into the finals of Copa Combate. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Did you enjoy that? He's not feeling too sore, so, you know, the guillotine choke, if you do get stuck in it and you're just at a regular jiu-jitsu tournament, you can find ways out of it, but it will crank on your neck if you are, you know, not in a good position. But Marcelo had no other choice. He was going to be lights out if he let that guillotine choke go on much longer. So Levy Marroquin on his way to the final of Copa Combate 2017. We have plenty more action coming your guys' way on Copa Combate, but we hope you enjoyed that submission breakdown because we have plenty of crazier things coming your way. The 2017 inaugural Copa Combate was such a hit that we had to bring it back for 2018. But Gamble, I gotta ask you, why Cancun to Fresno?
Well, you know,
I'm a hater.
I will admit that Fresno is not Cancun, but you know, there's just so many snobs in our business, and everybody gave me such hell for it. But I tell you, Fresno is a great sports town. Many Mexican Americans in that area, right? You know, the Inland Empire, you know, folks that love fights. We thought, but you know, it kind of annoys me, Alex, because, you know, no one goes, oh, the Olympics, why are you going to Paris? You know, Fresno's a great town. We had a great town. We nearly sold that venue out, and we were only doing our second Copa of all time. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, the viewership, over 900,000 and only growing every single Copa that comes up next. Fresno, I mean, I'm not going to hate, the energy from the crowd was pretty insane.
And, you know, there are good tacos in Fresno. You know, there are good tacos in Fresno. I mean, I admit it's not Paris, but don't be such a snob. It's a great sports town. Come on.
And we're there to put on the toughest tournament in sports, and that's what they did in Fresno. They got it done, 100K on the line. So let's take a look at this Fresno stadium packed with 6,000 fans. Taking a look at this stacked bracket for the 2018 Copa Combate in Fresno. Starting us off is Chile versus Spain.
And this was a good fight for Chile, the entire country, because it was the first time Chile had been represented in such a big level internationally.
And they really stepped up to the plate. Pablo Villaseca really laying down the hammer. This one ends up going to the decision, but Chile versus Spain didn't leave anything in the gas tank.
No, and I think, you know, Spain came to win, but it doesn't always go your way.
Yeah, that decision going in the way of the Chileno, and he'll advance to the semifinals looking unscathed, no injuries there. But up next in the quarterfinal between Bruno Canetti and Joey Roquette.
Well, we made, you know, Joey represented Puerto Rico, so we took a little liberty and we made Puerto Rico a country. But Considering their fight background and tradition, they deserve it. But you were talking, look, unscathed. This is a tough first fight because you got 2 more coming after this.
Yeah, and these guys are really letting loose when it comes to the takedowns, the striking, the ground and pound that we see from these fighters. Joey Roquette on the wrong side of a ground and pound situation. And Argentina moves on to the semifinals.
Oh.
Beautiful stuff. You were probably cage side for that, losing your mind.
Well, the Copa just...
Wow.
Copa just scares me. The whole thing scares me. You don't know what's going to happen. You really don't know. And maybe the ref should have stopped it before that last punch.
Bruno Canetti knocking him out cold as we move on to Mexico versus Colombia. In the green shorts, we have Alejandro Flores. And he is really working in those grappling exchanges. And a nice punch knocks down his opponent. Crazy stuff. The ground and pound, a lot of these guys are dazed, but with 100K on their mind, they're staying awake.
They're not giving up.
Definitely not. And we're seeing a beautiful front headlock game. No arm in, but he is squeezing away on those carotid arteries. Will he be able to survive this? That's pretty unique, not having an arm in for the choke, but with a squeeze super tight, he might be able to finish this.
He's tapping.
He gets the tap, Alejandro Flores. A no arm in Darce choke? That's pretty special stuff for Copa Combate.
You gotta get it done. However,
it looked like it was partially a neck crank too.
He's just all smothered, and he's got his head kind of tilted towards his, his chest, and it's just a nasty position to be in.
Representing Mexico, getting the win over the Colombian, a beautiful submission. And no one in Combate Global history has ever won Copa Combate with all finishes. So this guy is on the right track, winning with a submission in the quarterfinals as we head into our final quarterfinal bout between Marlon Gonzalez of Peru versus USA Andres Quintana.
Quintana the Bullet.
And rightfully so, he is speedy quick. Into the takedown is Marlon Gonzalez.
But neither wanted to be down, right? They want up, and they want to hit each other.
Yeah, they want to stand and bang. But Marlon's starting to feel some of the power of Quintana, the American. Beautiful exchanges on the feet from these two. And Peru really starting to make their claim as a top country in terms of martial arts.
Absolutely.
They end up going the distance, both of them celebrating. Maybe a post-celebration will sway the judges one way or the other. I think that's something that a lot of fighters like to do.
It's a show. It is a show.
You got to feel confident, feel like you got the win, but on the feet, it's looking like the American was getting the way, and the judges gave him the nod. He will be advancing into the semifinals of the 2018 Copa Combate. The quarterfinals brought that action, so much insanity in that.
Just think about that for a second. The quarterfinals. You got to win 3 times to win the trophy and win the money. 3 times.
The quarterfinals is just the beginning, but we'll be taking a look at the semis in the finals up next, where we're going to see even more action nonstop at Copa Combate 2018 in the beautiful city of Fresno. The quarterfinals of Copa Combate featured one 5-minute round. The fighters that advance will now go to the semifinals, which is another 1 5-minute round, and then on to the finals.
So that's 3 fights in one night. You got to think about that. 3 fights in one night, 3 different opponents. It's pretty amazing. It is a real challenge.
The toughest tournament in sports. It's called that for a reason. Now we're going to take a deeper dive into the semifinals and the finals of Copa Combate 2018. Take a look into this 2018 Copa Combate bracket. The semifinals are set, and in the first one, we have Chile versus Mexico.
So this is the second fight for both these fighters, Alex. They're coming in. This is their second fight of the night. And, and they're going at it.
You can see a little bit of the damage on Chile's Pablo Villaseca. And as he's pinned against a cage, looking for a takedown onto his back, what will Alejandro Flores be able to do to him in these moments?
He wants to do bad things to him. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, we saw in his quarterfinal match that he got a crazy submission. Will he be able to execute on these guys that might be looking to play it a little bit safe? They know they have the final next. They don't want to get caught in something stupid like this, an arm and guillotine potentially.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to know how to play this. Do you go all out to make sure you win? Or do you just take a little bit off the top so you can survive to the next fight? But, boom, we see what happens.
And the decision goes to Alejandro Flores. They go the distance, and the look of disappointment from Pablo Villaseca really speaks volumes. But now we're in to the other semifinals with Argentina. Bruno Canetti knocks down the American. Will he be able to recover here?
This is certainly one of the best fights of this particular tournament. These are two great fighters, active fighters, powerful fighters. Bruno Canetti, unfortunate life situation in that he was the victim of an assassination attempt. Boom. And there's an assassination attempt right there.
With a beautiful punch from Andres Quintana in round number 1, the only round in the semifinals, because we got to keep these fighters safe, not having them fight 3 rounds every time. But what a semifinal. Bruno Canetti, he thought he had him against the cage.
No, he delivered a lot of damage. These are two very tough guys, skilled guys.
Andres was able to recover here inside the clinch, trying to protect himself from those knees in a beautiful hook. It's those exchanges off of the break from the clinches that people just don't see coming, and immediately knocked out. The referee had seen enough, and the American Andres Quintana advancing into the finals.
Yeah, if you watch it, boom, he's out there. That's it.
Down he goes. No cobwebs being shooken off with that one. A beautiful hook, beautiful placement. And it's almost like he didn't even need the ground and pound to finish him off. But when 100K's on the line,
you don't take no chances.
Exactly.
And take no prisoners.
USA moving on into the finals. And now here we have it, Mexico versus USA showdown. Doesn't get any more classic than that.
Nope. And Fresno, the capital of the world.
Oh my gosh, that spinning back elbow completely shocked Alejandro Flores in the knockout for Andres Quintana.
You know, this was so short. I was thinking we should have had, another fight to make him fight 4 fights to get the money.
Straight to the temple.
Boom.
That is perfect placement. The crowd was probably going wild in Fresno.
No, it's amazing, and it's like, these guys are superhuman. Look, the way his knees folded back, he was out on that spinning elbow.
And Andres took a few punches to the head to get the perfect placement for that spinning back elbow. Beautiful stuff. Watch him come in with this kick. He eats 2 in a spinning back elbow delivered straight to the temple. A knocked out Mexican Alejandro Flores falls short to that 100K.
Third fight, third win, 100K, well deserved.
Beautiful stuff from both of these fighters, and we'll be back with much more after the break. Definitely a lot of violence to unpack in the 2017 and 2018 Copa Combate. What are your thoughts on those first 2 Copas?
I love that you said that. You said there's a lot of violence to unpack. It's like the Copa is like an entire year of MMA put into one night. 3 fights, 8 fighters, 8 countries, and it's like the World Cup. It's very much like the World Cup, except we can't wait 4 years, yo. We got to do it every year. And I think what's interesting about the next set of Copas that we're going to talk about in our next show is we changed the name of the company from Combate Americas to Combate Global, and we start adding countries that don't speak Spanish. So we bring in Ireland, and it starts to open it up. We think the entire world loves the Copa.
Yeah, they definitely do. It's an iconic tournament, the toughest tournament in sports. In 2017, we had the first Mexican champion. In 2018, USA took it home. But in these upcoming bouts, we could see some countries taking it away that isn't USA, isn't Mexico. So talk to us about how important it is that when you guys expanded, how you wanted to approach the fighter nations and how you went about those decisions.
A great question. I think this is the easiest way to think about it. The UFC, which I did start, is perhaps the world leader in MMA. I don't think that's a controversial statement. But they really started with Anglo countries, with English-speaking countries. It was the US, it was Canada, it was Australia. And that's been the focus, and the growth went from there. For us, we started with Spanish-speaking countries and the great US Hispanic population. So for us, we went from North America to South America, and then becoming Combate Global. Then we're going to go over to Europe. Of course, Spain speaks Spanish, there's no doubt. It's a little bit different. Those th. If you learned Spanish in school, you probably learned Spain version of Spanish, which sounds different from Mexican Spanish, Puerto Rican Spanish. You know, it's such a great mix. But the truth is, whether you speak Spanish, English, Spanglish, Greek, everybody loves violence.
Everyone loves violence, and I do love Spain as well. I spent 3 months there in Valencia, in Ibiza, so I'm familiar with the accents. And
Ibiza? Did you hear that?
Yes.
It's not Ibiza.
Yes, there's
Ibiza.
representation and plenty of different countries that we're going to take a deeper dive into. 2019, you guys go to Peru. Why Peru?
Well, because Lima has more 3-star Michelin restaurants than any place in the world. But we didn't go there.
That's good reasoning.
That is good reasoning, but that was a side effect. That was a side benefit. Listen, you got to understand something, that the cultural mix that I love so much is often, so people argue about food. Who has the best empanadas? Who has the best tortas? Who has the best, tacos? That would be Mexico, by the way. But you can have these kind of arguments. You see in fighting, too. You see different styles and a different evolution of the fighting. Some countries are further along than others. Mexico's had a big advantage in MMA. They've been doing it longer. Chile coming on strong, Peru coming on strong. Of course, the success of Conor McGregor gave the Irish really something to shoot for. So it's so interesting when you see this country versus country mix. You can almost grade where the country's MMA scene is on the scale of how well the fighter does.
It's definitely interesting to look at the evolution of the sport, and now these fighters are able to look at the past Copas and build a little bit more of a strategy. So it'll be very interesting to break that down in our next episode, where Combate Global will be going to Peru. 2019 Copa Combate, we saw stars on the rise like Humberto Vanderlei really use that hometown energy to fuel his stake at Copa Combate's biggest payday, $100K. So we cannot wait to bring you that action for Copa Combate, the toughest tournament in sports. That's Campbell McLaren. I'm Alex Wendling. We'll see you next week.